today we can talk a little bit about due diligence and briefly about what is involved in that. I mean, there's a process which is often overlooked, and even when it is done, it is never really done completely. I've heard it used to describe the way someone should look at marrying and living together with someone. It doesn't matter how many years you date that person. Once the ring is on the finger and you are shacked up in the same house, only then will you know if you just boarded a sinking ship. Well, due diligence is never fully completed, even with the best team of detectives. However, you can use it as a powerful tool to assess the risks of the business before you take the leap. And it's pretty clear no experienced buyer will purchase a business without first learning about it. And this learning process is what is called due diligence. And during due diligence, a buyer's accountant, their lawyer, generally speaking, their team of advisors will examine every aspect of the seller's business, like the contracts, statements, procedures, professional relationships, agreements, leases, and of course, among other things, the documents. Now, this is a deep dive into the seller's company. This process is going to take some money up front, and as well as a lot of your time on both the buyers and sellers, part. So this is why it's recommended that owners of businesses initiate the due diligence process as soon as they decide to sell the company. And this can present the owner to the buyer as being a transparent owner to a potential seller, and it speeds up the process because they can remove barriers before they come up and give the seller an idea from the counsel of their own advisors and financial team on the truer value of their business on the open market. So if the seller takes the initiative and does a due diligence before selling, this can definitely compress the time needed for the overall process the overall due diligence process. So a well-prepared seller wants to look at the business from a buyer's perspective, and there are certain things a buyer will generally be looking for. Most obvious things a buyer is looking out for are any hidden negative surprises in the company, any malfeasance, undisclosed risks, evidence of fraud or misrepresentation of information like revenues and expenses. Basically, any information submitted will be scrutinized, such as unpaid taxes or maybe pending litigation, useless business equipment or faulty business equipment, patents or trademarks. And the buyer is also looking for information on things which will affect the value of the company and any advice against purchasing it. And this is a back and forth analysis, checking and cross-checking up to and sometimes after the moment the ink dries on the contract. Now, the control of this information generally starts from the direction of the seller to the buyer. And once the process starts, this control is given up as the interested buyer starts to cross-check what they have been given. The seller basically gives up this control and must now be willing to give the buyer information they request as needed. And finally, if the buyer's search for misinformation which would affect the company's value yields no results, then the hunt is going to be on to find any chinks in the business or flexibility on the seller to lower the price or improve its terms. And this intention of tire kicking, lowering the price and improving the terms, permeates through the whole due diligence process. And this is why most sellers hate the process, because if there is a hole or a chink, a serious buyer or seasoned buyer will find it and turn it against the fixed price in mind. Well, the seller also has a sense of feeling interrogated in a most intimate way because of the value and depth of questions being asked. And it's an intrusive exercise for the seller. This is why initiating an internal due diligence before the sale can give this process a lot more control for the seller. This pre-sale due diligence should be initiated by either an investment banker, accountant, or your lawyer. And this is a critical step because it will allow the seller to discover any pitfalls they may have and at least give them time to fix any problems the company has before going up for sale. An investment banker will do this aspect of their preliminary service, if you like, assessing the books, visiting the facility, meeting with the key staff of the company and key members of the advisory team. Just really assessing the company, making sure it is packaged correctly for the marketplace. And the investment banker will be constantly looking out for red flags in your company on your behalf as a seller, with the intent of giving you opportunity to patch things up. This discovery process will also help the seller understand their business from a more objective viewpoint. If you have a transaction lawyer representing you, they will be there to provide the contractual side of due diligence, identifying any potential legal issues which need to be resolved prior to the sale, and updating any contracts, shareholder agreements, and doing the minutes, looking at articles and bylaws, employee and pension plans, all legal agreements that govern the operation of the business. And ideally you want the transaction lawyer to detect any legal issues which can derail the sales process. So these are just some general pointers from both the buyer and seller sides. For more tools and articles, go to www.sagetactics.com. This is Alfred Angelo of Sage Tactics, representing National Diversified Funding Corporation.